Op sociale mediaplatforms vandaag de dag gaat kwaliteitsinhoud vaak onopgemerkt voorbij. Op Den krijgen gebruikers betaald voor het maken, evalueren en beheren van kwaliteitsinhoud. Contentmakers worden beloond op basis van de betrokkenheid en het bereik van hun bericht of opmerking. Contentbeoordelaars worden beloond op basis van de snelheid en resultaten van hun voorspellingen over welke content trending zal zijn of viraal zal gaan. Eigenaren van communities worden beloond op basis van betrokkenheid binnen een community. Kwaliteitsinhoud loont op Den.
Hello and welcome to this week's DENDAO governance meeting. I am Dave and I'm here with Greg from Rivet. And we have a pretty good agenda for us to talk about today. Quick reminder, if you want to join and talk about something, this is open to anybody to pop in and have a conversation about Den. There's a link on the agenda. If you look at the DENDAO layer, there's this post called DENDAO Call 2022, July 14th. That is today. And then at the top of the agenda, there's a link to join. It's a StreamYard link, just to pass that back along. So I'll run through the agenda real quick to let us know what we're talking about, and then we'll start back at the top and talk about it. We've got the commitment phase is ongoing right now, so you can go vote on layers and win them. The anonymous posting feature is live as of yesterday. You might have seen a couple of proposals for that already to enable it in various layers.
Pretty cool.
Yes. So we will review that and talk about the implications of it and the usefulness of it. And then we will look at the DENDAO GIs and see what kind of community feedback we have at that point. And if you have any, there's not any right now, but if you have anything that you would not like to come up and talk live about, but you want us to hit, you can go ahead and hit them last call for that in the replies. And then I'll just refresh towards the end to see if anybody left something. All right. So back to the top. What's up, Greg? How you doing? Thanks for joining us like usual.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's on my calendar now, so I'm definitely not going to miss it unless I absolutely have to be somewhere else. But
well, thank you.
I'll tell you about that in advance. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Always glad to be talking about this platform because it's no secret that I believe in you guys, but
thank you.
But it's moving forward at a rapid clip, and I'm just excited to see what's next.
It has been more recently, like a rapid clip kind of thing. I like it. There's a lot, but I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, fast is always better than slow when it comes to doing new things. So
as you know, and if you don't, here's the deal. Every month we get new layers on Den. And the way that you do that is it's participation. Everybody jumps in and says, I want this layer. And then we run metrics towards the end of the week of this week and to see what wins. The way you do that is you come in, you commit lore that you just get for free by using Den. And the more you get and the more you can vote. And the more you vote, the more of that layer you will have ownership of. You get all of your lore that you commit gets traded 1-for-1 for lot layer ownership tokens, and you get ownership of that layer, which comes with the governance rights and the ability to propose anything you need to propose in that particular community, as well as free edits. So if you need to manage content in there, it's a little bit less expensive to do that as an owner than as a non-lot holding denizen to that community. So we've got the winners are going to be the number 1 by unique voters, and then the number 5 and wait, hold on. Where are we? What is it this week? So number 5 and 13 or number 8 and 13, it's something like that. 8 and 13, 5 and 13, 5 and 13 is what I'm getting. All right. So number 5, if we were to take a snapshot and end voting right now, which, it still has at the top, you can see an extra 4 days. If we were to end it right now, we would get craft beer because they have 40 unique voters for craft beer. And then we would get astronomy and astrophotography, and we would get GIFs. Is it GIFs or GIFs? What do you think, Greg?
Oh, it's GIFs.
Is it GIFs? You're one of those.
The guy who created.
And I know he's wrong. He's wrong.
But choosy developers choose GIF. It's so ringing.
Developers choose GIF. That should be a peanut butter advertisement for the GIF.
It was a playoff of choosy moms choose GIF.
That's awesome. So cool. So this is going to move up and down. That's not going to be who wins. It's probably going to be much closer to like what I usually see is the last day, especially people kind of holding back and not throwing all their lore in until they kind of see like what's going on. People do game it a little bit. Looks like the runners up so far are going to be, looks like there's 34 to 40. Okay. So there's a 6-person difference between the upcoming crypto projects and craft beer. And then it's pretty tight from there. 29, 8, 7, 6. So these are pretty neck and neck once you get past the first two. So yeah, interesting. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else to say about that. Any questions, Greg, about the LCP and all that?
I'm crystal on it, man. I love the fact that you implemented the approach where it's not number 2 and 3, but an arbitrarily selected different number, because that gives less immediately voted on things a chance to come into existence for free, which is cool.
Yeah, and there's a couple of reasons we did that. I'm sure we've said it like a zillion times by now, but for example, if you get down the list, you've got 172,000, and then you go down even further, you've got 26,000, and then you go way down, you start getting like 1,000 or less. And so couple of things. One is that's whatever that number is when voting ends, that's the max supply of those NFT tokens for that layer forever, right? So getting a lower, digging down in the list a little bit, you get a lower max cap on that. You know what I mean? So like less than 500,000 instead of how many million? 2 million up here. So that's interesting. But then also the actual reason, the problem we were having is that towards the end of the contest every month, like clockwork, you would get the same one winning both categories. Because as soon as you have craft beer as the unique voter winner, everybody's like, oh, I should probably throw my lore into that and get some because it's obviously going to win, which creates an effect where number 1 by lore suddenly becomes the same thing. And so we stopped getting 2 different or 3 different layers winning, and it was the same ones in both categories. So going down, digging down a little bit makes it less able to be gamed, and it makes it more interesting too.
Right, similar to ranked choice voting versus first past the post voting. It's not, you don't have an incentive to just vote for the most popular thing as a compromise.
Right, and you can split. You don't have to go all in on one either. Like I like books, right? But
books needs to happen, man.
You know what I mean? But I don't have anything in books. But books might win. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit. I want to go put in 1%, and I'll vote for that. And now I've got potentially some in books if it wins, right? And maybe I wouldn't have done that otherwise, because if it wasn't close to the top, I might think, oh well, it might not win, so I'm not going to worry about it. But now, since we're talking about it, there's 2 other ways you can win the LCP, which is if you don't win for free, you can win for a fee. The top 5. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the top 5 are eligible to be created, even if they don't win by unique voters, with a the closer you get to winning, the less of the fee. And I think it's just 200 matter, and then 4, 6, 8, 10. Right. So it just climbs by 200 each time. So there's that. And then there's also the other one, which is if you have 2,500 matter that you want to blow in a layer, you could get anything down this list. Let me just go way down. All right, so there has to be at least 8 unique voters, and you could, at the end of the LCP, you can only do it in this open season at the end, whenever the winners, like when voting's locked at the end of the commitment phase. Okay. There's this window of opportunity where it's kind of like open season, where if you want something that didn't win, now's your chance. You know what I mean? And of course, that's outside of the whole B2B process. Like these are all LCP layers with max cap tokens.
Right, and the other type you're talking about is something that's arranged independently.
Yeah, and the other type is the big difference, I guess, between the business layers that are business to business arrangements. We want to start a thing. Let's make it a custom governance. Let's make it whatever you want. It's just It's
right.
just
They want
that
to program in treasury management and
whatever
else,
you,
and
yeah,
bells
exactly.
and whistles and bobs. And
If you want to
whatnots.
use, if you want to use an external NFT for governance weight instead of the lot, if you want to use a fungible for the same thing, like whatever you want to do, those are the business layers. Those are available too. But the important part is they do not have a max token supply. It's whatever the business wants to do.
Right. So it can be arbitrarily how I think they could do it that way, but they don't have to.
Right. That's what World Blockchain Roundtable uses to. So it is, I guess it's inflationary in that way, right? So you have to maintain your participation to maintain the same governance weight. So if you slack off, then you're every week more are being minted to pay people that didn't.
Right. Exactly.
That
So
kind of thing.
It's inflationary because that serves the purpose of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, there could be reasons for that.
From a behavioral incentive standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and bring I Am for I Am up. Oh, hey, hello. Good timing.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We were just going over the LCP for this month since the commitment phase is open and looking at who's currently winning and just kind of explaining. We just got done explaining how it all works if anybody's just watching for the first time. That's all. So,
and the deadline is, when does the LCP vote?
It's going to be Monday night, I think. Monday night, Florida time.
Yeah, the 18th. Yeah,
get it in before Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's going to be, if you want to do the countdown, it's at the top. It's whatever 4 days and 18 hours from now it is.
I need to go see if anybody put in a Hold My Red Bull layer yet, because it's my favorite subreddit. There's a whole bunch of people doing stuff that ought not succeed but does.
I know. I've seen that before too. It's like the antithesis of the Hold My Beer.
Right, exactly.
Thing.
It just works out, like some guy skiing from house to house or whatever. Jumping out of an airplane and landing in a glass of water unscathed. Yeah, it's perfect.
If not, propose it, man. The proposals will open back up next month before the next commitment phase to see who wants to propose stuff. So definitely.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it isn't already in there, then that might be something I would do. Or if somebody else does, I will vote for it.
Speaking of Harold on his laptop in front of the beach window there, we do have anonymous posting live.
Yes.
And that went live yesterday.
That's amazing.
You might have. Yeah, totally. I want to talk a little bit about how that works because it's unique and interesting. There's 3 settings that you can set, right? You can either allow anonymous posts in the layer, you can disallow anonymous posts in the layer, or you can enforce anonymous only posts in a layer, which I think is the interesting one that we'll have to see how it gets used.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. A lot of business models for that one.
Yeah, like, okay, so business model, right. So what does that mean? Well, anonymous posts, implications of anonymous posting. You can't post anonymously and then get rewarded for your content, obviously, because you're anonymous. We would not know who to where do the rewards go for that mining operation? I don't know. It was anonymous. So instead it goes to whoever are the lot holders for that layer. If this was, I don't know, let's look at some of the governance and see what, there's been some layers that have been proposing. For example, here you go, eroticism. There's a proposal to allow anonymous posting, right? And in the details, it'll say allow identified true, allow anonymous true. So these are different toggles, right? When you go into the settings as a lot holder. And so you can set allow anonymous to be true, and you can set allow identified to be false if you want. And then you can only get anonymous postings. And so I was pitching the idea here, like, hey, what about anon only? And then Joshua said, I'm good either way, but it might prevent someone from posting if they want rewarded and don't own any lot. Maybe it would be best to hold off until the layer is running strong. And so my only thing there is, being this is the eroticism layer, I'm not sure how many denizens are trying to create original content for this layer. And you know what I mean? So like,
maybe they are though. I mean, like,
maybe they are, and that's fine. But my only concern is that and this is not safe for work. I just forgot to take the auto tag off. My only issue there is like, okay, well, are we going to be coming in here trying to plagiarize somebody else's work and earn matter off of it? That doesn't seem morally correct. So it seems like maybe if that if by default or enforced that only the lot holders get paid out for the content in there because it's all anonymous, then at least that could be going to incentivizing the lot holders to be more active in the layer and manage it and stuff like that. Because it's one of those, like, it's the first time we've done a layer like that. I don't know how it's going to go, and we got to be on top of our game managing it, that kind of thing. So there's some of my thoughts on that. Again, I don't care which way it goes either. I just want to have a conversation about it and see if it makes sense. And I'm sure somebody will do it, and we'll see how it makes sense at that point.
We need a government whistleblower layer.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so that would be one where I would not want to have like just for safety's sake, for the whistleblower, for me, I don't want to know who you are,
So here's a question. Here's a question. Is it truly anonymous? If somebody came to you with, with a badge and a gauge shotgun and said, unload your servers into this bag, please, sir. We need to capture this person. Can you identify them if they've taken proper precautions to?
So I'm not gonna give a hard answer on that, because like anytime there's any you're asking a legal question, but I'll tell you that from what I understand, we would be required to hand over whatever we had to hand over because we're in the U.S. But as far as I understand, no, we don't know who you are. I think it's basically like, I know how it works under the hood, but like, I'm not going to sit here and say there's no possible way that you can glean some information because everything is on chain.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I can't
say carefully good privacy practices. It would be difficult, and you wouldn't be able to provide a whole lot of
right. And I would say that's probably the whole point of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Greg, you're talking about the individual's obfuscation prior to logging into Den and then going on anonymous posts.
Right.
Like you can go on you can anonymously post your name and your Facebook page if you want, and I can't help you in that sense. In that case, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely
that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's an element of personal responsibility when it comes to anonymity, but it's cool that you guys have structured it in a way that that lets people make that choice if they feel they need to. So
that's part of
whistleblowers can actually do the public work that they do that's a public good.
Yeah, I'll say that's part of why the payouts work they do the way they do in the first place, is because the way the system's built is the content creator owns their own content. And the rewards in the mining process goes to the content creator. And if we can't pay out to that because we don't know who it is, that's why it works that way, and it goes to lot holders instead.
Right, totally makes sense.
So there's that. It looks like memes. There's a proposal in memes and in world blockchain, and I haven't voted on either of them. Let me vote. So I'm going to vote. Yeah, let's have anonymous memes. Sure. Oh. Minimum of 1 lot is required. I don't have any lot. I forgot. If you forget, like I just did, up at the top, if you click on the globe, it just tells you what all the proposals are, even if you can't vote in them. If you click on the flag, it tells you what you can vote on that you have not voted on yet. So I'll go ahead and weigh in here as well. And it looks like I have, just enough. No, not enough to push it over. So I'll go ahead and vote. Say, yep, let's go for it. And then it clears it out. So back to the global list, we've got eroticism, memes, WBRT. That's good. Asking anonymous question to WBRT is I look forward to having our first anonymous question on our Thursday show.
Oh, me too.
And the rest of them looks like a banner proposal change, and then in politics too. That seems pretty important to have in the politics layer. Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, and red pills too. Even more sense. Cool. All right. So there's the proposals for the different layers.
I will say this. It will add more importance for the denizens in the community to vote or evaluate information that's being posted from anonymous sources, shall we say, to being accurate or not accurate.
Say that again? I think I know what you're saying.
Information that's posted anonymously, it's still going to be even more pressure on the denizens to evaluate that post for it to being fake or news or whatever. In other words, we might, the prolific of fake news might happen more frequently from anonymous postings than somebody who is willing to put their DEN ID on there.
Yeah, and
Right.
there's two sides to every coin, right? And that's part of
Right.
that's part
Unless
of it.
it's like
and
a
that's,
wrong answers only layer, in which case you could go ahead and submit the wrong thing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But then at the same time, that's another reason to not incentivize that. You don't get paid out for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't get rewarded for that.
Right.
You don't even get any reputation, but you don't get any reputation hits either. You know what I mean? So it's like,
True.
it's a different animal. It's out of the economy. It's out of the system. So yeah, we'll see.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
And all the people on Den that I've encountered are people who like to know what is what. If you're here, you probably found your way here because that was your quest, at least in part. So I think that's probably going to go well. And I think that really it's on all of us to set a culture of, anonymous posters have a burden of proof.
Yeah,
but they're going to meet it. I don't doubt the fact that we're going to get posts with tons and tons of evidentiary linking and things like that. So,
and I guess the most simple thing to say about that is, sourcing is just that much more important at that point. And as a reminder, maybe your goal is not necessarily to get credit for something, but simply making a post anywhere on Den and any layer is putting something on chain. So if you just wanted to basically timestamp something to Bitcoin, and we don't have the proof reports yet, that's a feature that's upcoming on the prioritization list. But anything you put on chain is on chain, So if it doesn't matter to you if it's you getting credit for it, you can at least be like, no, this was known at this time because it was talked about at this time, and you can prove that it was known and talked about publicly at this time, just in case. And in a lot of cases, I see like, oh, this new surprising thing that we're going to talk about in the news today, and it's like, I don't know if that's new. That kind of thing.
Right. I was reading an article.
Archive links are cool too for that purpose.
I was reading an article yesterday, day before yesterday, about the farmers in the Netherlands and being pretty hush hush about where they're going to move their tractors from one location to another, so that they're not tipping off authorities and preventing the protest or whatever. And it made me think of how are they coordinating amongst themselves? What platform communication are they using? My thoughts were like, okay, they're probably using maybe WhatsApp or something,
right?
Because I don't think these farmers are digging deep into 4chan and you know what I mean.
Or even more than that, like a lot of farmers are obviously very intelligent, or they would not be able to grow food for us so reliably. But like their forte is not internet security, and it's not typically anonymity and that kind of safety kind of thing.
Exactly.
That's why I'm such a big proponent of anonymity by default, or that kind of thing.
And it made me think of applications for things of that nature, for Den. That was kind of that thing that popped up. One of the ideas I had in my head while I was reading the article.
Yeah. Well, you could do that with so the cool thing about Den is there are not, for example, one of the I hate to even use this language, but it's not inaccurate either, I guess. But one of the attack vectors on I'll call it Web 2 social media maybe, is that because they rely on advertising agencies and things like that to pay the bills, like their whole model is to let advertisers see everything their users do and sell them that data basically.
Right.
Like, not only does somebody like Facebook have insight into everything that's going on in your DMs and stuff. I don't know if you ever used their messaging platform whenever Uber was taken off hot, but they would actually, you would if you would talk to a friend in your DMs, it would, and you said something about like, oh yeah, it's the meetup at 3 p.m. or whatever, you would get a message from Uber saying you need a lift, you need a ride. And it's like,
right.
So you got third parties watching everything, and because we don't have
all channel.
Huh? Oh yeah,
every chat app has an all channel. Like they don't always expose it, but they sometimes look at it.
And so, just by nature, we don't have that sort of thing going on. But I would still say, like, it depends on what you're doing and where you're at, right? If you don't want your competitor in business to know what your secret sauce is for outproducing your shiitake mushroom crop, more successful than them, then, you could use Den and not worry about advertisers looking at, that may be a competing company looking at it, depending on how tinfoily your head is. But if you're in like, if you're and this is kind of what I think about as worst case scenario, you live in some place like China, or you live in some place like Iran or Russia or North Korea or some place like Canada that's, outrageous right now. And it's weird that I can put all those in the same category,
or even here if you happen to visit DC on a certain date range.
Yeah. So stuff like that, I would still say, like, DEN's not a cure-all for censorship and privacy and stuff like and anonymity, but it's like, if you want to opt out of always being tracked all the time, like this is a place for you. But there's more tools you're going to need to keep yourself safe, and this isn't a meeting about those tools, but some of them are like, find replacements that don't have central servers. Like, Signal's great, but it still all goes through a man-in-the-middle attack. Theoretically, we don't know. There's a server in the UK and whatever.
And it's true. Moxie Marlinspike is currently running it, but that won't always be the case.
And then so like, right. So there we go. I'm not even going to pitch what I use. Just
So DIN, DIN is at the cusp of becoming more and more decentralized.
I would tell you long term, one of my goals personally, and this is the way that I'll vote in the future, if it ever comes up to a DENDAO vote, and maybe I'll propose it in the future when I feel like we're ready for it. But exposing DIN to things like LokiNet and Tor network and things like that, long term, if we have the tools to manage that, I think it'd be an interesting way to prove the power of DIN.
That would be beautiful. A Tor setting where you just literally tap a setting when you sign in, and it's signing in through 5 hops. That's awesome.
I mean the other way around. For people that are already going out of their way to know how to use those networks, to be able to access it without going through an exit node.
Right.
Because that's the danger.
Service, you mean?
Right.
Oh wow, that would be a next level thing. That would be super cool.
That's what I would
vote
prefer.
for that too.
You know what I mean? And
hosting.
the ease of implementation is way better. Like, I don't know all the specifics on that. And if it, like, there's a lot of specifics about that, I guess, right?
Walk me through this. What would that accomplish? And what would that allow?
So right now, let's take.
I got a dog barking.
Yeah, that's all right. If you talk about something like, I'll use LokiNet as an example, because they just now got exit nodes pretty recently on LokiNet, and that is basically a Tor network that has additional capabilities that is incentivizing the node operators to be good actors instead of incentivizing them to de-anonymize and sell data that way, which is how Tor works. Since Tor is all volunteer based, the only incentive that exists on Tor is to be a bad actor and have a bunch of nodes that de-anonymize people. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So LokiNet uses a blockchain to incentivize owners of the nodes to operate within certain parameters and make sure they're being good actors and offering fair service to people and stuff like that. So they didn't have exit nodes that were publicly, available to be spun up until recently. But you don't necessarily need to exit the network either if you host on the network. So one of the things with that, though, is like, if you're hosting on the network, and you don't want, all right, any link like this link I have on screen here to StreamYard.com, if this DIN website was hosted on the Tor network, if it was an Onion service, you would still exit to ClearNet by clicking on that link. You know what I mean? There's so many integrations of the regular internet that you would still be hitting. Like if you were to host a video from YouTube, it would still exit to ClearNet to access YouTube to be able to show that video, right? So I would want to have native video before we did that and things like that. I wouldn't want to depend on ClearNet stuff at all until, at the point that we did that, for safety, just for security, because I don't want someone to accidentally post something that is against the CCP in China, and then someone show up at their door because they posted something they don't like on the internet, which happens all the time. So I just don't feel comfortable doing it yet, basically. Does that make sense? That, like, exiting with the exit nodes is where the danger comes in?
Yes. I was looking at use cases. I was trying to think of use cases.
Oh yeah, people that aren't allowed to access the internet. That's a use case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
people in Iran. Like I know Monero and Tor project themselves. I was at DEF CON a few years ago, pre-COVID, and there was a Monero village at DEF CON, and there was some really good talks by the Firefox people or the Mozilla people rather, and the Tor people and the Monero people who were hosting it about how difficult it is to constantly be counteracting these nation states who want to de-anonymize traffic on their citizens. It's like a constant battle. It's insane. There's like a whole, there's departments, there's binders full of people just for that,
Oh yeah. Well, the United States intelligence services own a significant portion of Tor exit nodes. I mean,
well, we invented it here at the Naval Research Lab, so I would imagine that they knew about it for a while.
And that's what they.
It was a lab leak.
Yeah,
and they pulled that psyop on to get rid of IO error.
So we'll come back down to the DENDAO meeting, but actually the reason it wasn't an intentional lab leak because the only way that Tor can be successful, and this is, let's say it's a nation state wanting to anonymize their agents so that they can be behind enemy lines and they can, phone home without being tracked. That's the real use there, why it was invented. And the only reason that works, the only way for that to work is for mass adoption to occur. And a lot of random people use it so that within, you just need more noise to hide the signal, that kind of thing. So that's the theory there.
The next question. So there's use case okay. So I wonder how big of market that could draw to people to use DIN.
Yeah, that's why I don't know what the business case is for it right now. I'm not sure. Maybe
privacy by default, man. Privacy by default. I don't think there's anybody out there right now who isn't feeling like if they can switch over to the private only internet, they wouldn't.
Or private only social media site.
Oh yeah, I think they would totally go there and use it just because they know for sure their data wasn't being tracked.
Well, what's cool that's happening with DIN is that, in my opinion, is that we're not doing a lot of the things that a lot of quote unquote crypto projects are doing, and because of that, we're getting people that are more serious about building the thing rather than profiting from the thing. And if we can be successful in continuing that to where there's a foundational group of really good denizens running the show around here, then it's not going to feel dead when somebody switches over. We talked about this earlier today, I think. I think we did on World Blockchain, where people say they want to go use better tools and better networks and stuff, and they get over there, and none of their friends are there. It's a ghost town. It's boring. There's nobody to talk to. You know what I mean? So I think
that's why
that
you need 3 friends to go with you always if you're going to switch networks. That's what you have to trick.
That's probably a good marketing thing. Bring 3 friends so you don't feel like it's a ghost town or some better way to word that.
Bring your 3 favorite mutuals is sort of like how I think about it.
Yeah. So that's what I think is like once we have more native media hosting that's decentralized. I don't know if that'll be this year or not, but optimistically it could be. We have some initial work done on that and testing. But yeah, so there's a plan, but priorities and all that stuff. So once we have more stuff that's on DIN on chain instead of relying on like YouTube, for example, I think that's a really good time to be like, all right, now we can like really, really reach out to people that aren't allowed to use us and say, use us anyway. We're in the US, we love freedom. I'm sorry you're in, whatever country that doesn't, but here's something for you. So I'm for
David,
that.
Probably bears saying just back on the idea of spreading DEN, because I think that's a thing that needs to start happening more of on our parts,
we're way more ready for that now. Yeah.
Not enough people know about this thing yet. And there are a lot of things here that people would want that they can't get anywhere else, I think. So to that idea, the 3 friends campaign is one I'd love to help pull off if we can talk about that later. So
let's sidebar on that, and maybe you too. I am for I am. Maybe 3 of us can have a meeting and figure out what's a good way to package this, that kind of thing, and talk about it.
Yep, I've got some ideas. So
I'm just checking DENDAO votes real quick. Cool. All right, so let's look at a couple of posts that are in the DIN layer now. So we have the announcement about anonymous posting, and this has some good screenshots. If you go into your settings menu and you go into the layer that you want to change the settings for, of course you have to be an owner of that layer, which means you have to have at least one lot, right? So to make a proposal, you got to have at least one lot for that layer and 50 energy to open the proposal. But there's anonymity is the category in the setting. You open that up and you've got, describe the change. And then there's the two toggles, the radio buttons. It says allow anonymous content, allow identified content. By default, your layers have anonymity turned off. And so you have to go change it if you want to change that. And then you hit post and it'll post it, right? So that's how that works. And then interestingly, we have the DENDAO quarterly report that I want to make sure I hit today too. It's pretty relevant. So this is going to go through, just a summary of the DENDAO governance decisions that have been made this quarter. If you haven't read the Dragon Chain quarterly report, that is out as well. And it talks about DEN in there. And this is just some of the DEN specific stuff. So there were 7 DENDAO votes that were not passed, but happened, I guess I don't know what else the word to use. So there was one about there were 2 about determining the layer winners in the LCP. Like I said, we've been adjusting that a little bit to pick different numbers. And so that requires a DENDAO vote. If you're changing the way the community works, then there's a vote. And once again, you don't need to be a lot holder to vote in the DENDAO vote. It's a completely separate thing from your layers. It's based on behavior. It's based on, like doing the things that DEN needs to be done to be successful. Plus, there's some more things like lot holders do get, additional vote for that, and liquidity providers do get, additional governance votes for that. So just wanted to say it's a different kind of animal. We removed the not safe for work embargo now that we have tools for that. That was something that had to come out of the prioritization cycle, the dev cycle. So that's done. So not safe for work embargo removed. I guess that means DEN grew up. And then the DAO prioritization vote that passed. That was the anonymity tools that just finished. So we'll need to do another DAO prioritization vote coming up probably early next week, if not maybe starting tomorrow or something. We'll find out soon enough. And then there were 2 that were the same thing. There was return the button titles to the main interface in the web app. I like to call this the T-Swift or die proposal. And that did have gargantuan support. But in the final hour, when the community decided, yes, let's do this, and the devs were given the tasking of looks like this is going to pass, maybe go ahead and start working on it if you want, if you have time before it passes, just as a heads up. Devs came back and was like, hey, so I know you asked for this, but what about this? And what they came up with was this little, in the top right of my screen, you see this, what do you call that? It's not a caret. Is it a caret? Less than, greater than?
Toggle, I don't know.
Right, so there's an arrow, toggle arrow. And now you can just decide, because there was disagreement on whether it was necessary or whether it should look this way or look that way. Well, now you can either have the words there, and that's how it is by default, or you can collapse it and it'll remember per device what that setting is, right? So if you're logged in on 2 different laptops or something, and you have one of them collapsed and one of them expanded, it'll remember that per device for whatever, So that's what that's about. So we ended up voting down the one that we initially wanted, so that we could vote yes to the one that was much more better. And then there was whatever this was. I have to see what this was. I don't know. The description's too long. But actually, let's just go. We can go right now. DENDAO. What was that one? Right here. Change proposal site-wide for... yeah, this is the one where we changed it to have the number 5 and 13. Cool. So there's the DENDAO vote. What else was in there? We had a development progress. Layer chat and DMs are completed. Oh, the app is a little bit behind the desktop rollout, which is fine. It's if you're a gamer, just think of it like it hits PC first, and then you get your Xbox and PlayStation. You know, so it'll hit the web app first, and then you'll get your Apple and your iPhone updates later. But those are going out now ish. I think I saw some discussion about that and being packaged up and rolled out. More DM updates as well as the anonymity features and stuff like that are going out. Those aren't on the app yet. The first pass of integrating smart contract APIs is completed. That's your smart tags. That's why this is blurred down here, because it's marked as not safe for work. I will say, hey, no, it's not. And I don't know if I have enough votes to unblur that, but it'll automatically happen based on consensus. Boom, there we go. So I weighed in and said, no, it's not. And these tags are consensus based. You actually are voting and you're getting a vote in that tag kind of thing. So there's that. And if you have any other API integrations, you'll need to contact Den and get that custom build out for you. But it is available now. The first pass, the foundation of how smart contracts will work. Next pass, we'll have, the idea is that like if you wanted to have a chatbot in your layer chat, that's going to be basically a smart contract integration. And maybe you run your own L1 node on DragonNet or something, right? And then to address the overuse of tags, a 3 tag limit per denizen per post was implemented. If you notice the wall of tags, on a lot of the posts, you can still get a wall of tags if a bunch of different denizens post a bunch of different tags, but you can only do 3 per tag. And there is a slider here as well. So you can actually, instead of them being literally a wall, now it's just you scroll over and look at the other tags. And they're ordered by consensus. So theoretically, the first few should always be the ones that are most accurate anyway. And if you want to scroll over and see the rest, go for it. And then let's see. This says, stay tuned to see how the community shapes the platform the second half of the year. I would say very do that, very much. One of my things is like I said earlier, I've kind of refocused my attention on Den to where I had to strip out some things that I were doing in my life that were not going anywhere, and to have more time here, just because like, man, it is ready to start pushing out to get adoption. And I'm guilty of not pushing so hard on that because I was always like, all right, are we ready? Are we ready?
No, it's your baby. You just want it to be the best it can be before you put it out into the world.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that. And so sorry if I'm slowing anything down, but sometimes I act like that.
It's what makes you so good at building it. So don't you dare apologize for that.
Okay, cool. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So there's the important items I wanted to make sure we talked about. And then so on refresh, in case anybody left any replies, and then we can just have any additional conversation you want to have. Looks like no replies. So boom. All right. Open forum. So what do y'all think about the latest features and stuff? I know we talked about it, especially anonymity quite a lot, but anything we want to talk about now? We got a few minutes.
My only first thing I'd like to say is just, compliment to the devs for, getting a lot done in this quarter. I thought it was a phenomenal quarter for what was added for functionality to the platform.
Yeah, I remember.
Big shout out and kudos to them.
I'll pass it along.
Sprint discipline, because it's actually quite a bit of work in a very short period of time. It's pretty. It demonstrates talent.
It surprised me actually. I was impressed. There was the which one was it? It was the smart tagging, right? Because everything that we do is basically like it's set up for this stuff anyway. There still needed to be some work done for that. But by the time the proposal passed to have that as the next feature integration, it was like before the next DENDAO meeting, it was already done. Like before that 1 week cycle. I was like, damn, dude, that was quick. Yeah. And anonymity, like I said, like yesterday, shipped. Oh, okay. Wow. Cool. So awesome stuff. I'll definitely, I am up here a lot and I don't do what they do. And they are the magic makers. That is for sure.
We should if any of them would like to come on at one point, we should have a dev up just to say, hey, that'd be cool.
Well, it's up to them, but yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be great. Yeah. I would love that personally, but that's up to them. Like,
no, I mean, if they, I would invite them to come if they're listening right now. Because I'd certainly like to say hi and say thanks to your face.
Yeah. So, agreed.
I'm lucky enough to like at least be a fly on the wall on that conversation, and have access to what's going on, just so I can update, people if they ask me. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and a lot of it just is super impressive. So.
Yep. Cool. Good work, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, that's a pretty good, I like that. That's a pretty good shout out to the devs. Second half of this year is going to be awesome. I'm excited for a couple of layers that, some have popped in already, some you don't know about because they're private layers. We do have the ability, by the way, to have private layers. They're outside of the economy. They do not compete with the rest of Den. You don't earn matter or anything with them. But if you have a reason to have a private layer, let's say that Rivet wanted to have a private NDA, so they can have a conversation on chain, and maybe once something's released, you wanted to, then take the layer public after that, so that people can see the development cycle and it's all on chain, or any kind of thing like that.
That's a cool idea. I've never thought about that before. That's neat.
Yeah. Well, that's being done right now. And so it's going to be cool.
It's a GitHub feature, actually, weirdly. They actually even have an ability to say, you can stay private and then go public at any point, really.
Yeah, you can do that here too. You can be private, and like I said, it's outside of the economy. So the denizens who are in those companies that have those, the energy they use in those when voting on stuff, it doesn't earn them anything. That's why you never see it come up in the payouts, because it's not part of that mining operation. But what I was going to say, more importantly, is you can do that, but then in the future, because everything is super customizable, we can do anything we want as a DAO here. They can then convert that into a public layer and make it part of the economy at that point. You know what I mean? So you can always opt in later, kind of thing.
Well, and what I find to be really remarkable about it is it's that GitHub has always had this history of action once they go public, and this will be sort of one of the first times that's ever happened with with anybody who had a private layer that they took public. It'll be a history as opposed to
and I think
and a verifiable one.
The conversations around all the this decision-making process during the engineering phase, and all of the, they have governance, right? So they're a private layer, but they do have governance tools. So all of the decisions, all the everyone on the team who voted in that DAO decision in that project will all be, it's on chain, and you can look at it and be like, oh wow, and you can kind of go back in time and see what it takes and how long it takes to make such an amazing thing happen, because they are freaking amazing, and you'll see that when they come out.
That's cool. No, it's super cool. So in any case, interesting point. So
cool. So that's all I've got. I'll give a shout out to Huddle Signal and Artistry DAO, and who else has recently popped in? Sticky DAO. And I think that's all the ones that are on there recently. So definitely cool. And thanks for building on Den. And if you want to build on Den and you're scared of it, then I am simply Dave@Den.Social. You can email me, just Dave@Den.Social, and we can talk. And if you want to set up a meeting and I'll give you a one-on-one, maybe if you have a whole team that you want to have a one-on-one, we can set that up, because I'm in onboarding mode.
Good. Awesome, Dave.
Were you going to say something? Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you need any help with that, I'm happy to take direct questions too.
Cool.
People can get a hold of me on Twitter @DesignHeretic. I'm happy to at least pipe you to Dave if I can't figure out what you're needing to know, and just help direct it a bit.
There's my liaison. Thanks, Greg.
Nice. That's great.
And again, I am Fryam. Thank you for being so involved. You've got such a bunch of great ideas. And once again, we do have a new cycle of development coming up. So keep an eye out for the DENDAO governance issues, the GIs. One way you can do that is just to check in every now and then. I'll go ahead and click on it here. You can check into the DENDAO layer and make sure, as a reminder at the top, make sure you're sorted by time so they can see the latest stuff that comes up. And that's where you'll see like the quarterly report that was published. These meetings are published here. And then you can click on the gavel to see what kind of DENDAO proposals are being made, right? You can also go into the governance tab and click on the Dragon Phoenix. I don't know what it's called, but I like to call it the Dragon Phoenix. and that'll show your DENDAO governance things too, and everyone can vote in them, no matter like if you have a lot or not.
Super.
So yeah, there'll be a prioritization DAO, prioritization vote in there. So yeah, if there's nothing else, let's wrap it up. And I would say, what else? Reminders, of course. So go vote on the layers. By the time the next Super Happy Dragon Lucky is airing next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, or what is that? 11, 10, 9, 8 a.m. Pacific. We'll have winners at that point, and we'll know who won the layer, the voting contest. I have a show on Wednesday morning, Coffee with Den. I am. You're typically there. And, Greg, I need to start throwing your a calendar invite for you on that as well, in case you want to stop by. It's never required. It's always, open to anybody, though.
Yeah, actually, I have to send you my new calendar I set up. It's like a thing that I'm just giving out to people to arbitrarily set up meetings without asking permission first.
Perfect.
So it's just
Perfect.
like anytime you want. So
cool. I will take advantage of that, and to the point where you're going to regret doing it. We'll see.
Well, that's been the trend so far, and it's been really productive. So
that's true too. There is a lot. I said this. I always refer back to World Blockchain on this meeting because we talk about so much stuff, and it's it's like a couple of hours before this meeting. But the signal to noise ratio is great for me right now. And I suspect that it has something to do with actual scams collapsing and people running away from crypto that are only interested in making a quick buck. Because the people most of the conversations I have now is like, oh, this is like, these are questions about somebody who's ready to build, to do work,
right?
That kind of thing.
It's the who's legit filter more than the crypto.
So that's been super interesting. Yeah. Let's see, anything else? So yeah, coffee on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. Sorry about it if you're on the West Coast. That's just when we do it. And I had announced that I was starting a pilot episode of my new cannabis show this month. But a symptom of what we just talked about, I started having serious meetings about it with people that were seriously interested in spinning this up, as well as one person who said that he would do it if we could wait for a minute. We got a director, which I didn't expect, to not volunteer, but accept delayed payment, basically, ownership, sweat equity in creating it. Very talented person who's going to be directing for us. And surprisingly enough, we went from I initially had just copy pasted the business model for World Blockchain Roundtable, that structure. But and it's funny to me to say it because it's going to be so much fun, but it turned into a cooking show. And we had to find a kitchen, and we had to find camera operators and equipment to rent, and it's legit.
Yes,
legit.
Awesome, man.
You know what I mean?
Super
so
cool.
that's going to be pushed back. We're not going to do it every week. We're going to do it every month instead, because the new format's going to require 2 or 3 weeks of writing and planning and stuff before before shooting and then post production, and it's going to be a whole freaking thing.
Are you going to make a bigger banquet because it's more time between episodes after that? And the next time it's 7 courses.
No, it's probably going to be, honestly, it's probably going to be about a half an hour worth of cooking, and then maybe 40 to 60 minutes of at a table eating and talking, right? And maybe
I was going to say, I'm gonna fly in once a month for a free meal.
Yeah. And maybe there's 2 or 3 people in the kitchen, not too many cooks in the kitchen. But then once you break out for conversation after the cooking portion, then you have room for a round table, really, of people. And it's not even necessarily about cooking with cannabis as an ingredient so much as it is one of the examples used was cooking with Crohn's, where I'm able to cook and enjoy this food because of RSO oil or something like that, because of cannabis. And it is a destigmatization effort, and it is a normalization effort, and it is showing real licensed patients. Myself, I'm one. That's one of the reasons I took this up, is because I was able to find success where I had, for a couple of decades been unable to with traditional Western medicine. Right. And so I was like, oh, there's not, maybe there is some woo to this, but there's also some to this too. And
Right.
so
Well, I
that's
mean, and there's always value in getting to know what people's stories are. So
so that's on
totally worth it.
that's on Den. We've got a guy, I mentioned it in Dragon Chain chat. We've got a company that's very serious about wanting to do something with real estate and use the governance, even if they don't use the lot as the fractionalization or whatever they're doing. They can use whatever they do use on Den, because we can integrate anything into our governance things, So like there's a bunch of stuff that's been on the back burner that now are super hot. This is why I keep saying, like, I'm so impressed. Like, I hate that everybody lost money on the Terra Luna collapse and the Celsius exposure of what was really going on with them. But at the same time, it's like, man, for people building stuff, this is golden right now.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm rambling.
One last item that goes kind of along with that is, the capabilities of the DAO that Den has, and that being rolled out to other, entities, companies, what have you, is phenomenal. And when we have this, I'm so looking forward to the city-state, the World Blockchain Roundtable.
I didn't even. That was a month that I was not even paying attention to what got passed as the topics for that. And then when I was reading down the list for July, I saw DAOs as city states, and I was like, oh shit, that's going to be good.
They're even more than that, though. It's crazy. It is literally the legal entity legal entity 2.0. We're finally getting out of the old world of entities and getting into DAOs.
Right.
Like in the sense that,
like, structurally, marriages should be run like DAOs, and structurally, I mean, from a legal standpoint, if you're talking about just resolving disputes about what this organization needs and who deserves what and who gets what.
Well, since we're here, and since we're here and talking about DAOs too, I guess I've been doing a lot of thinking about traditional systems, I guess, if you want to call it that. Traditional.
I call them legacy systems.
The legacy systems, I was going to say.
Yeah, but not even systems. There wasn't even the legacy word I was looking for, which I do love that word. I use that for my bank. I use that for Facebook, legacy social media. I'll use it for everything that's obsolete now. They just don't know they're obsolete yet. Exactly. But I'm thinking more along the lines of, like, the way that we have our system of laws and, I kind of relate it to how we treat our pets. If you go to a vet and talk a dog trainer and ask them how to train your dog to be a good dog and follow all the rules, without question, they'll tell you, like, positive reinforcement, reward them for doing the right thing, and they'll want to do the right thing on their own voluntarily without it being a fear response, that kind of deal.
Yep.
Right.
And unless of course you want to train a compulsive behavior, because that's what you get if you use punishments too.
And so our entire legal system is based on negative punishment reinforcement of behavior,
Yeah.
And
shit! Why is there not a court where you can go plead to have the public award something for being right?
Yeah, right. And so a DAO, and especially, seeing how this works on Den and stuff, the DAO structure and the behavior systems that Joe always talks about, more and more I'm understanding what he means by that. I would say 2 years ago, when he was talking about it's all behavior systems and software is just, or blockchain is just software that incentivizes human behavior to make them do something. And I'm just like, dude, that sounds like you're talking about a magic spell. What do you mean? Because that's literally what a spell is a certain arrangement of words that make people do stuff, right? But more and more I'm seeing, like, damn, you're kind of right. Yeah, you're kind of right.
People will tend to do more of what they get a benefit for doing. And over time, the way our psychology works, that pattern gets reinforced the longer it happens.
I think of neighborhood associations and plugging in a DAO into them.
We've talked about that specifically.
Having a lot of neighbors having conversation on a DAO and things going to a vote. It's just such a perfect plug-in.
Well, the cool thing about the way you guys do it at Den, and this is something else that's probably worth noting, is your approach is out in the open, because this is a tool for evil if you don't realize that, like, one of the most commonplace habitual things you do is communicate, and you get into patterns of behavior. The heuristics of that are long, complex, and long running, because mostly we're wanting to focus on the content, right? Like, we're not wanting to focus on the fact that we're scrolling like we are, or that we're tapping the buttons a certain way. So we're feeding them patterns, and those patterns can either serve us, or they can hinder us, or they can be used against us. And you guys are taking an open approach with talking about it, so people can start thinking about designing it for themselves. So,
Hey, I just got a message. I just realized I'm late for one of the new DAOs that we're onboarding. So I'm gonna go pay some attention to that right now.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for joining and helping out. Thank you everyone for tuning in and listening. And go be part of Den. Go be a denizen and bring 3 friends, because that way you won't feel like you're on there by yourself. And then maybe those 3 friends will say, "Hey, we got friends over here now. Come on over." And with that, any last words?
Have a great day. Be safe.
Peace.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. Adaptable approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now?